Good morning, good morning, good morning. October 26th. October 26th. I was telling Jennifer on the way out here, I think we have hit peak on color with trees. And that doesn't mean it's beautiful. Well, the ones that do have color are pretty. But we went from green leaves to brown crispy leaves. And due to, two rains in the last month and a half, 2 months. But fall is definitely here. Halloween is coming up. Halloween is coming up. And then after that, Christmas is on. I mean, it just, bam. I cannot believe the year is almost over. But it is. And we started this, gosh, did I pull out my old? I think I did. Maybe I didn't. We started this little series here a long time ago. I'm not going to be able to find my old notes. I think there may be at the house. I don't know, but I wanted to say how long. I keep people's obituaries in here and what I write about people. I just passed somebody there. I don't know how long we've been talking about this, but this was something that Jimmy had requested. And to be honest with you, when he requested it, he was here. He was still fine. Everything was good. And it has stretched for a long time. And I'm sorry that Jimmy is not doing well. We definitely pray. I pray for him every day. And Sue, that things get better. Because talking about Revelations 5 and 6 and 7, and taking a look into the future is something that he wanted to hear again. And I hope that he's taking some time to listen while he's in recovery and can get back with us. But one thing I want to share with you before we get too far. I don't know how much of this to read because this is not the intent and focus of this right now, but it's something I want you to see. I've talked about dispensations of time multiple times, right? And in Revelation chapter 17, go down to verse 8, and let's just read a little bit, okay? Because where we're getting at and talking about Revelation 6, talking about what's happening here. We've laid out the fact that there is different levels of faith that God has intentionally put upon this earth and for people to follow after. And one of them is a faith that's based around grace, the grace of God, the point to which you have no control on whether you get it or you don't. God gives it as a gift, okay? Or you could say, well, I want my children, because, well, I know how I feel towards my kids, my brother, my family, people in general. I wish that I could just tell somebody. The word that comes to my mind is I wish I could impute it into them and say, this is something I want you to have. This is important because it's not something that's temporary. It's something that lasts for an eternity. We can't fathom an eternity. It's barely, you ask a 20-year-old to fathom 10 years, and for them, it's half of a lifetime. For 10 years to us, it was, just 20% ago or whatever. We just can't fathom an eternity. But that's what grace is. It is a gift given of God that just never has an end. Never has an end. And then you can follow after God under the law, and the one that you have some level of control under. You say, what? Wait a second. Are you talking Arminianism and are you talking Calvinism? I'm just talking, let's not even get that deep into it. Let's just say I'm saying that you have the ability to say, I choose to love my neighbors. I choose not to tell false stories. I choose to not steal. Steal what? Well, I don't know. Stuff from a store. I choose not to kill somebody that maybe I wish that I could, because there's a conscience awareness that's about me that says there's consequences for doing something like that. And these are all things that history has bore out, that we have carried as a burden in humanity. So what do you mean, Anthony? Well, the word conscience alone should make you say, what? Thinking about having the strength and ability and the will and the desire to follow the laws, let's call it human government, it's things that ought to be triggers in your brain when we start talking about the Bible and the dispensations of time that we have gone past. So I've gone over these, and today I have intentionally wanted to say what each one is, okay? If you have pen and pencil and want to write it down, that's great. If you don't, I'll talk about it again, so don't worry about it. But here in Revelation chapter 17, and this is one of the trigger points that hit me today that I said I'm going to do this, so I wrote them down. But I'm going to start in the middle of something, and we're just going to flow with it, okay? We're going to just accept that this is Revelation 17, starting at verse 8. And I'm really only reading, I don't know. I'll read a little bit. It says, the beast that thou sawest and is not. Yeah, okay, right now you're starting to say, what beast? What are we talking about? What do you mean that we saw and is not? And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they belonged to the beast that was and is not and yet is. We've got some power in Satan, first of all, okay? So this is not the point of what we're talking about, but when we start talking about this beast that was and then is not and then was and yet is now, there's a time frame here in which Christ is going to be loose for a little season, right here. Boom, boom. Take that back. There's a time period in which Satan is going to be loose for a little season, and that's right here. And he's going to have some power, just like I read to you all. I want you to understand this stuff, people, because it's really important, okay? It really is important. So when we start talking about that beast, it says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard him say, come and look and see. And there was another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereupon. To do what? To take peace, to take comfort, to take joy, to take faith away from the people who were on the earth. And to take peace, and that they should kill one another, spiritually kill one another. Take away their eternal life, or at least attempt to. And kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword to do so. That is that beast. And that beast was active, participating. And then Christ came, and he pulled out his remnant. So then that beast for us, well, is no more. But there is a time that when people will be living on this earth. What time is that? The conclusion of tribulation. There's the word. The conclusion of tribulation. This world's going to still exist. What? Yeah. There's going to be people who will live, build houses, plant gardens, give birth to children, and people will die. But I'm telling you, paradise is yet now taken out. So where are they going to be? Where are they going to be? We'll tell you where they're going to be, okay? I don't know if I'll tell you today or not, but we'll read it and see. But I wanted to give you an idea get your brain right, because this is not the point of the day, but I hate to read about this beast and then not even tell you anything about it. So let me say it again, okay? The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. This is the difference. And here is the mind which has wisdom. And here is what sets things apart. The 7 heads, okay, we're going to get into some really funky, weird stuff, but it all is representations. The 7 heads, which are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. Very important. 5 are fallen. And 1 is. That means it's currently in process. This is what we're living in this today time frame. So 5 have gone in the past. 1 currently is. And the other is yet to come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns, now this is something that we're not talking about at all for sure, because it's a whole other thing. And the 10 horns which which thou sawest are 10 kings. Wait a second, I thought we said 7 kings. Didn't we just read 7 kings? Now we're talking about 10 kings? Yeah, different things, okay? 2 different things. Which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. And he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. And they that are with him are called what? But the chosen and faithful. And he said unto me, the waters which you saw, where the whore sitteth, and the people and the peoples, and the multitudes, and the nations, and the tongues. And then the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat the flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath putteth in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give kingdom unto the beast, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. That's the loosening for the time. And the woman, which I'm telling you now is the bride, which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, the New Jerusalem. So these people, back up in 15, these are the saved people after tribulation, but before the destruction of the world, because that is what this great whore is, the world, okay? That's what the harlot or the whore is. And over here in 19, people read it all the time to you, so maybe you've got it down pat. But 19:3 says, and again they say, hallelujah, her smoke rose up forever and ever. And that's because the destruction of the world took place, okay? And so at that point, yet another time frame advances and comes about. And so back up here in verse 9, maybe it's 8, or I'm sorry, maybe it's 10. And the 5 are fallen, and 1 is now, and the other is yet to come. The yet to come for that king is after the great harlot is burned and her smoke rises up forever and ever. Are you putting all this together? Are you starting to see a picture of something yet? If not, let me share this with you and let me see if that takes you one notch closer to understanding. So we talked about the dispensations of time. And what are they? Well, I can't remember them all, people. I know them all up, so I write them down. So maybe I'm not telling you have to remember them, but if you do, great. But in the beginning, and they also have got another name that is escaping me, but associated with it, but we will go over it. But in the beginning, in the Edenic time frame, right? The Garden of Eden. Edenic is a really funny word. You say it and you say, what? What are you saying? I've never heard the word Edenic before. Well, it's talking about the Garden of Eden, and it's talking about a time frame. And so they call it Edenic, the Garden of Eden. It was innocence. We were guiltless. Live forever here. Just don't do this one thing. It's utopia. It's perfect. But even in perfection, we failed. We couldn't do it. He said, just don't do this one thing. And both male and female did it. And that was partake of the tree of life. It's going to make you wise. It's going to make you, well, as God, to understand and know. Did Satan lie? That's true. It did make us wise. It made us understand the fact that, oh my gosh, we're naked. We are without covering. We now have got to do something to protect ourselves. But we can't do it. But we try. So we enter then into a second time frame. Gosh, you might say, Anthony, Tony, why are you going through all of this? Because I'm telling you, this is real. This is not story time. This is not Lord of the Rings. This is not Harry Potter. This is the truth of God. And you want to know, what does it take to ensure your spot in the kingdom of heaven? More specifically for me, I want to know, what does it take for me to ensure my spot in the New Jerusalem? That I can be that tree? It is to understand and know these things. And to know them more than a story. To know them as a truth. To see, am I tracking the right way? This should create, I'll hold it up like I do often. This is either a roadmap for you, or it's an instruction book for you, or it is follow the recipe book for you. If you understand, and the words that are written in here are not a mystery to you, and you do follow after God, and you submit to God, and you live your life for God, you will be successful. But if you go through life blind, and I'm not quite sure, and I think I read today where God even says, I gave them slumbering minds, eyes that couldn't see. It's because people don't look for it. Well, then you're not going to be successful. You are going to be, you're going to be a part of that law. Seal. S-E-A-L. You're going to be a part of that law seal, of which is built upon deception. So these stories that I tell you and these things that I say, it's a little boring. Can we get to the good stuff? This is the good stuff. This is good stuff. So innocence in the Garden of Eden. Failure. We enter then into the Adamic. Ooh, is it damned? No, it's part of the name Adam. Put IC on the end of it. the Adamic time frame. So it is a dispensation of time of which we have consciousness. We are aware of ourselves. We are aware of the fact, just as Satan said, it'll make you wise. We are aware of the fact now that we're without covering. We don't have anything that we can walk before God with, because we're now sinners. So you say, okay, I am aware in this Adamic time frame, but we can't help ourselves. We still fail. So then we enter into okay. All right, let's put some ground rules down here. Let's make sure everybody understands what the playing field is, so you know that when you've crossed the line. So we will say we have human government. It's a time frame. It's a dispensation of time. And when did it take place? It took place and it came about with Noah. Noatic. Everybody just play nice together, okay? Can you do that? Can you play nice together? Nope. Okay then. You failed playing nice. We're going to make laws. Once you know that it's a law, you get in trouble when you break a law. You don't just get yelled at and the finger stuck at you whenever you are stepping outside of human government, of telling everybody just play nice together. So that came under who? Moses. Mosaic law? I don't know. Makes me think of the broken tiles, but yeah. Don't get so hung up on the names. Gosh, people. We can't even keep laws. The Ten Commandments. Can you just keep the Ten Commandments? Nope. Because, as Christ told us, wherever our mind goes, our heart there follows, and we break the law, even sometimes with just our minds. So what's a man to do? Well, the Palestinian time frame comes into play, and that is based upon promise. I find that interesting today. I was looking at promise, and I thought, we'll talk about promise later on. But yeah, based on promise, so we think, what saved all of our BC, before Christ, brothers and sisters? Promise. God made a promise, and he kept it. And some people follow that promise, and some people did not. In that promise, he said, I will send you a comforter. And so, in doing so, he sent Christ to us, who then left that comforter portion of the Holy Spirit behind. But when Christ came and he died, he gave way to grace in the Davidic law, which is grace. Grace. Grace is one, as I tried to say earlier, you cannot fail. Why? Because you don't own the parameters of grace. You live inside them, but you don't own them. And the parameters for God, in my opinion, grace is like this big amoeba that's just rolling and milling about. And he keeps you inside the whole time. You're a remnant that's pulled outside of the law and put in a grace position. So, we read that up here. We read that. We read it. It says, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. Innocence, conscience, human government, law, promise. And one is grace, which is what we live inside of today. And when he cometh, and he must come, and he must continue in a short space, there will be one more. And that's going to be the kingdom in this new day. In fact, I don't know if the Bible calls it new or if I called it new, but it's new. It's the new. It's the new day. So there is how we go through all of that. Is there any coincidence that there's 7 to get to the new day? Is there any coincidence that it took 7 days to create what we have? I'm telling you, the Bible uses numbers and colors for representations. So with that in mind, where are you? Where are you? I would tell you that I believe, to whom I preach to and the people for what they say and what they profess, we are all sitting under grace. But it's nice to know how we got here. It's nice to know where we must remain in order to get to number 7. Because if we revert back and start living under and following the practices of law, well, we are going to receive the reward of law. Turn just a couple pages backwards here. And let's start in Revelation chapter 14. Oh, yeah, you know what? I say start here. This is where we're going to start for the day. But we read this. We read this last week because it's important as well. So we read it again, and I'll read fast, I promise. But we read it like 3 Sundays ago also. But we only read down to verse 5. And I looked, and lo, the Lamb stood in the mountain Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their forehead. Wow, really? Think about that. The name to whom which you follow is written into you. With a Sharpie marker on your forehead? No, I'm talking about seared into your mind and brain, and that's who you are holding to. And I'm holding to God the Father. The name, his Father's name written in his forehead, and I heard the voice of heaven as the voice of many waters and the voice of many great thunderings, and I heard the voice of the harpers harping with their harps, and they sang as it were a new song before the throne and before the 4 beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song. No man could learn that song. But the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. The bride, people. That is the bride. Who are these people who are redeemed from the earth? They are the grace-filled people who have passed away, gone into paradise, and they're there waiting. How much longer? Oh, we'll find out. We are champions and warriors with Christ on that white horse, people. We show up as well. I wish I could make the trumpet sound like da-da-da. And we're there in the clouds making the charge also. But let's read on, because this is not the point for this day, right? These are they which were not defiled with who? Well, the earth, with that great harlot, that great whore. They did not have the name of that leader in their forehead. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb wheresoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruit unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. How can you be without fault? Can you be without fault because you are a good law person? Nope. Because you never, ever will measure up. You will never, ever measure up based upon the law. Because I have given you 5 examples of mankind going through this world that we just can't do it. It takes grace. Can you give me a little bit of grace on this? Can you give me some forgiveness? Can you just not look at the transgressions that I have? Yeah. God says yeah. Because Christ covered all that. So we read on, right? And I saw another angel. John saw a lot when he wrote all of this. He's going to talk to us about 3 angels here. And I saw another angel fly into the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel preached unto them that dwelleth on the earth, and to every nation, and every kindred, and tongue, and people. I'm going to tell you, before we read the next little bit, that this is that time period after tribulation, and it's coming over in here to where I told you that people will live and die and plant gardens, build homes, have babies, marry, the whole 9 yards. So what happens to these people? What time frame are they living in? Well, I'm going to tell you they're living at the end of grace. At the end of grace. Saying with a loud voice, fear God. He's given some warnings out, okay? Fear God and give glory to him. For the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of water. We give the same warning today. Listen, this is the last hour. Are we in the last hour? Yeah, we're in the last hour. We're in the last day? Yeah, we're in the last day. Haven't they been saying that for 1,000 years? 1,500 years? 2,000 years? Yeah, because that is the time frame we're in. Okay, well, maybe it's going to last for another 1,000 years, and that can be like some people who say, yeah, I'll give God more attention when I get older. But right now, I'm, busy. And there followed another angel saying, as we move forward in time, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. If this world can snare you, it will. That is the design right now. You are, as a byproduct not you people, let's say the world, is a byproduct of being a follower. Oh, this sounds really sensationalized, but you're a follower of Satan. No, I'm not a follower of Satan. I love God, and I go to church, and I pray, and I do all these different things. Under what authority? Under the authority of grace or under the authority of law? Because great power has been given to Satan in this time frame. And I read to you all for weeks upon weeks that the law is powerful and strong. I even read back into Genesis and I told you that there's lots of good in the law. And there is. I'm not telling you that the law is horrible. And if I only ever know the law, praise God, at least I know the law. Because what did I tell you happens to these people? Under the law, under the reward system that comes on them, they may live on the new earth. And forever, for an eternity. But living on the new earth, and I made the distinction earlier, is not living in the New Jerusalem. That's why up here, when I just did this little thing about heaven, can you see that? Can you see? I said, in heaven, we're going to see that there is a new Jerusalem, and we're going to see that there is a new earth. Will there be transitions of in and out? I believe so. Why do I believe that? Because the Bible tells us that. But the abode, the home for a given soul is inside of a faith that is blessed to one of these two. And that is either a faith based upon grace or that is a faith based upon earth, law, flesh. Wow, you say. At least I do. Yeah. Thank you. Do you see how important this is? Do you see? Do you see? It's like, well, as long as I'm with God, everything's good. No. We are told to strive to make our calling and our election sure. We're told to run our race. And let me tell you, my race is not your race. Your race is not my race. We're two different races. But we're here to do what it is. We're here to be the best tool that God has designed us to be. This is crazy. I have a particular star screwdriver. It's black and it has white writing on it. Not 100% sure what size it is, but I can tell you one thing. I've never used it. Ever. Why? Well, I've got a whole bunch better set and I've got all of them. I can pull them out, and sometimes what size is that? I don't know. Let me try this one. Oh, not that. Let me try this one. I'm not going to go and get this one and say, oh, this has got to be the right fit, and I'll use it. I've never used the screwdriver. Don't even know where it came from. So much like you, if you are an unused tool in a toolbox, you're not doing what it is that God has designed you to be. What value are you? What pleasing are you giving unto God? I'm telling you, be the best that you can be, that God has called you to. Don't look to somebody else and say, well, I know I'm better than them because I don't like their life. Here, let me get this speck out of my eye. I'm going to tell you about the beam in yours. I'm just telling you, be the best tool that you can be, okay? Where was that? Let me start back in verse 8, just in case I didn't read it. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon, yeah, I did read it, it's fallen. It's fallen, that great city, because She made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark. Whose mark? God's mark? The beast's mark. In their forehead or in their hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Let me tell you, I think that this is talking about people who have died and gone into Hades. They are looking afar off like Abraham did, or Lazarus did, but they don't get it. Just like he said, just give me a dip his fingers and let me cool my tongue. Nope, doesn't happen. You're going to be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And I think in the presence of the Lamb, this is a representation of Christ when he went down when he died. He went into the earth. And I believe that he did preach to the souls and brought them out. But it happens. Verse 11, and the smoke of their torment for the people who were left behind, for the ones who did not meet the mark, ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience. This is the defining point, is what that means. Here is the patience of the saints. What separates me from them? What separates grace from law? Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Let me read one more scripture. We're coming back to the word here, okay? Got a couple scriptures that I want to talk about because it's important to me. It's important to know that we just got through talking about something really horrible and a separating event. Not quite centennial, but close to the word centennial event, because the death happened long before. Sentinel event, I'm sorry, not centennial, sentinel event. But here is the separating of them. So verse 13, just so we get it read out. And oh my gosh, people, I hope that I have beat it in your head enough that when I read this scripture, your mind immediately goes to another part in Revelation. And if it does, wonderful. If it doesn't, well, here's the good opportunity to help sear it in your mind. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write. Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. If you're not thinking about Revelation 20, down here in verse 13, please let it go there in the future when we start talking about something like this. When the dead die no more, when you're done, there is no more paradise that you're sitting and waiting and saying, how much longer? There is no more time frame of 1,000 years. There is no more loose for a little season. It's done. It's over with. The smoke has risen up forever and ever, and earth is gone, and there is no more place. Verse 11, and I saw the great white throne and him that sat on it, from whose face, this is Revelation 20 and 11. And I saw the great white throne and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven had fled away, and there was no place found for them. Why? Well, because it's burnt up. It's no longer there. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works, the ones that do follow them. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. This is the final death. They die no more, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Gracious. So we come back here into Revelation 14. People, what I have shared with you today is very, very deep. If you didn't get it, okay. Doesn't mean you're wrong. Doesn't mean you're not right with God. It means that you're on a pathway to understanding. But this is PhD level understanding of what happens after death. This is not topical faith. This is not meant to be your feel-good, you go home and all charged. This is to be your education. This is to take you further down a pathway of solidifying why you come to Cave Hill and not somewhere else that's closer. So next week, we're going to go into Romans chapter 11. I'm going to read verses, maybe just 1 through 12. And we're going to talk about the remnant of God. They're strong. We're going to talk about that remnant is not for the purpose of punishing other people, but because of the punishment of other people, our blessing shall shine forth. We're going to talk about 1 Corinthians 15, 51 through 58. We're going to talk about how this happens in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. I got other things to share too. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm done for the day.